Eagle 95.1 WUPN Paradise, Sault Ste. Marie.
It's time for The Game. Eagle 95.1 proudly brings you The Game, the Twin Sault's only regional and national sports show. For the next hour, we'll get an in-depth look at sports in the Eastern Upper Peninsula and Algoma region and hear from coaches and players involved in The Game. Now, let's join Scott Nason at the Wicked Sister on Ashman Street in downtown Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan, for tonight's broadcast of The Game on Eagle 95.1.
Time to play the game. Time to play the game!
Glorious! No, I won't give in till I'm victorious. And I will defend, Glorious! No, I won't give in till I'm victorious. And I will defend, and I'll do what I must. No, I won't give in, oh so glorious. Until the end,
Greetings and salutations and welcome to The Game on Eagle 95.1. Scott Nason broadcasting from the studios of Eagle 95.1 on Ashman Street, Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan, on this special Tuesday night edition, as we will be having Soo High Blue Devil hockey coming up at 7 o'clock tonight, as the Blue Devils will take on Sheboygan. Tim and Clayton Ellis down in Sheboygan getting ready for that broadcast, not at our normal location and day this week because of district basketball we had last night. And so we'll be doing the broadcast on Tuesday nights over the next couple weeks here on Eagle 95.1. We'll be joined by Butch Davis from the Telegram News and Butch on Sports during our next segment. And we'll get everybody up to date on the world of local sports. Lots to talk about. Let's start with high school basketball. Let's recap last week before we look at the district playoff action that has started this week. Last Monday in boys basketball, Brimley defeated Alanson by the score of 75-30. Caleb Johansson had 15 points to lead a very balanced Brimley scoring attack. Lots of games were canceled on Monday night, including Soo High at home in girls basketball against Alpena. And the Brimley girls last Monday defeated Harbor Light Christian by the score of 57-52. Well, the bad weather was all around here last Tuesday as 5 games were canceled. Petoskey at Sioux, Engadine at St. Ignace in boys basketball. And in girls basketball, Brimley and Rudyard, Pickford, Alanson, Detour at Mackinac City, all wiped out. Wednesday night in boys basketball, Cedarville was just 1 win away from claiming the EUP title outright in boys basketball as they topped Newberry by the score of 69-53. Other games on Tuesday night in boys basketball, Pickford at the Purple Palace in Pickford earned their 10th win of the season as they topped Alanson by the score of 63-32. Sheboygan all over Detour in boys basketball last Wednesday night as they won at home by the score of 77-42. And Soo High lost to Petoskey last Wednesday in boys basketball 56-42 as Brendan Paul had 20 points for the Blue Devils. Couple games in girls basketball on Wednesday. Cedarville over Newberry by the score of 54-32 as Mackenzie Barr had 16 points for the Trojans. And last week, Mackenzie Barr scored her 1,000th point for Cedarville. Katie Rahilly had 15 points for Newberry. And Detour over Mackinac City last Wednesday in girls basketball by the score of 55-31. Thursday night basketball, girls, as Brimley was hosting Pickford. It was a good matchup. And Brimley played well, however, they let a late lead slip as they fell to the Pickford Panthers by the score of 56-52. Soo High won their last game of the regular season in girls basketball on Thursday all over Rudyard by the score of 60-14. Thursday night in Cedarville, the Trojans completed their EUP Conference title, I should say, as they defeated Engadine by the score of 62-25. Newberry over Detour on Thursday night by the score of 50-34. Boys basketball on Friday night at Sioux High. They had their final regular season matchup, and they capped a perfect 8-0 season in the Straits Area Conference as Brandon Paul scored 25 points for the Blue Devils as they defeated Rudyard by the score of 56-47. Paul Staker had 18 points for the Bulldogs. Brimley improves to 15-3 on the season in boys basketball as they defeated Pickford at the Purple Palace in Pickford by the score of 59-36. Marcus Harris led a balanced Brimley scoring attack with 13 points. Nick Eddington had 12 points for the Panthers. Cedarville locked up another EUP Conference title in boys basketball on Friday night as they improved to 16-3 on the season as they topped Engadine by the score of 76-59. And one other game on Friday night, Detour at Newberry. That one won by Detour, their fourth win of the season, by the score of 57-56. So the girls' district started last night, in a game you heard on Eagle 95.1. While we're not at the Wicked Sister tonight, we were in Brimley last night, and it was a very spirited game. However, Rudyard would win the fourth quarter as Sierra Molina scored 17 points, including 12th in the fourth quarter after the game was tied heading into the fourth, lifting the Rudyard Bulldogs to a 55-43 win over the Brimley Bays in girls basketball. So Brimley ends their season at 4-16. Victoria Aikens had 14 points to lead Brimley, and Rudyard advances to the district final, which will be played in Brimley on Wednesday night, as Engadine didn't even have to play last night as Ojibwe Charter backed out of their semifinal. So Rudyard and Engadine will be in the district final, that one being played on Wednesday night in Brimley. If you want to hear the podcast of our radio broadcast, yours truly and our broadcast engineer, Katie Woolen, did the game, and you can find it at the podcast page of the game. And you can find that at thegamesportshow.podbean.com. We also put up broadcasts of the Game Sports Show with Dave McKagan, Sioux, Ontario, a brand new broadcast last night from Boston Pizza. We also do his show from Sports Center Bar and Grill, as well as Brimley Bays basketball, Sioux Eagles hockey home games, along with selected Sioux High Blue Devil hockey games, and our good friend Butch on Sports, and certain segments I have with Paul Van Wagner on his show, all at thegamesportshow.podbean.com. One other game in girls basketball in the opening round of districts as Pickford defeated Detour by the score of 57-39, and they advanced to take on Cedarville on Wednesday. So let's look at the girls district matchups. We talked about Class D already. Pickford will take on at Cedarville Wednesday. That a semifinal at 7:30. The other game sees Maplewood Baptist taking on Mackinac Island. That in District 123. And the district championship in that one will be on Friday night, March 2nd, this Friday, 7 p.m. in Cedarville. We already talked about Brimley's district, District 124. The final will be Wednesday night, 7 p.m. in Brimley, between Engadine and Rudyard. In Class C, St. Ignace and Newberry will tangle Wednesday night in Newberry. Had one game last night in that district. Indian River Inland Lakes over Harbor Springs by the score of 44-39. So the winner of St. Ignace and Newberry will host the winner of Manistee at Indian River Inland Lakes. St. Ignace a very heavy favorite in that one. And in Class B, Sioux High knows who their opponent will be Wednesday night at home. They will take on Menominee, as Menominee defeated Sheboygan last night by the score of 57-31. So the Class B district semifinal in the Sioux will be Menominee and Sioux High. That one slated for 6 p.m. A couple other games last night. Gladstone over Kingsford, 56-36. Escanaba over Boyne City by the score of 57-34. So Escanaba will be at Gladstone Wednesday night, 7 p.m., and the winner of that one will host either Menominee or Sioux High. When we talked about high school hockey, we'll have the Sioux High Blue Devils pre-regional semifinal at Sheboygan coming up here on Eagle 95.1 around 7 o'clock or right after this show, as that one will be taking place in Sheboygan. Now, the winner of that one will take on the winner of the first game, which is going on right now, Alpena taking on Gaylord. And so if Sioux High wins that one, they will take on either the Blue Devils or Wildcats in Sheboygan on Thursday night. And, of course, if Sioux High has that game, we'll have it right here on Eagle 95.1. The other side of the region sees Gladwin take on Big Rapids tonight in Cadillac, Mount Pleasant at Cadillac. And so those semifinals will be on Thursday. And the winner of those will go to the district final slated for Gaylord this Saturday at 7 p.m. And if Sioux High wins that one, we'll, of course, have it here on the Eagle. Sioux High did have one regular season game last Thursday, senior night at Big Bear Arena, as the Blue Devils capped off a very successful season, winning by a score of 6-4. Matthew Thurston had a pair of goals for the Blue Devils, who end their regular season with a record of 18-6-1.
Get wicked at the Wicked Sister. You'll find the best tasting food for the whole family. Start off with some appetizers like the crab dip, served with warm naan bread strips and soft pretzel bites, or their antibiotic and hormone-free boneless chicken wings with 5 choices of sauces. Entrees include the barbecue pulled pork sandwich, the #1 selling drunken cow burger, or Philly cheesesteaks, and they're on special all day Thursdays. The Wicked Sister also offers a gluten-free menu and catering. Bring the whole family. The Wicked Sister, downtown Ashman Street, open 7 days a week.
Moving on to the Ontario Hockey League, and the #1 team in all of junior hockey in the country of Canada, the Sioux Greyhounds, were on the road for a pair of games, and boy, they had some travel troubles getting down to Windsor, as they were originally slated to leave on Friday night, head down to Windsor, have a practice, but with the ice conditions and the falling ice on the Mackinac Bridge, they were unable to leave until Saturday. But it didn't affect them too much, as Boris Kachok scored a pair of goals in the third period, lifting the Sioux Greyhounds to a 4-2 win at Windsor on Saturday night. Kachuk had 3 goals on the night, and Matthew Villalta made 22 saves for the Hounds in their victory. And the Hounds had a quick turnaround Sunday afternoon in London, and they won by the score of 6-2 over the London Knights, as Morgan Frost had a pair of goals for the Greyhounds. Tyler Johnson made 32 saves, as the Hounds, they improved to 49-6-2-2, and they have another busy week. They'll be on the road Wednesday taking on Saginaw before hosting Sarnia on Friday and Windsor on Sunday afternoon. If you want to hear more about the Hounds, go to our podcast page of the Game Sports Show at thegamesportshow.podbean.com and download Dave McKegg's show last night from Boston Pizza. He had Dane Hantro and Brad Cacciamilio, the newest contributor to the game. Glad to have Koch on board. Looking forward to having him on our show here stateside. He has a lot to say about the Hounds. He covers them on a daily basis, so great information. Koch, we are very happy to have you on the Game Sports Show. Let's move on to the Northern Ontario Junior Hockey League, as we are getting close to the playoffs, and, well, lots to determine in the Western Division, as, well, pretty much any team can finish 1st through 4th. Eagles, I think, technically cannot finish 1st, but there's still lots to sort out. We'll get to that in a moment, but let's recap the week that was. The Eagles had a game last Wednesday, and they shut out Rayside Balfour at Puller Stadium by the score of 5-0. Carter McPhail made 37 saves in net for his 3rd shutout of the season. Nick Teckel had a pair of goals, as the Eagles got their week off to a fantastic start on Wednesday, but it kind of was a bumpy weekend for the Eagles. They did win on Friday at home against Espanola. It wasn't easy. They were down in the 3rd period, but Christian Barterson scored a natural hat trick in the 3rd period to rescue the Sioux Eagles with a must-win, pretty much, at home over Espanola by the score of 5-3. Well, the Eagles were big Thunderbirds fans this weekend, and the T-Birds definitely helped the Eagles out both Friday and Saturday. The Thunderbirds defeated Blind River Friday night at the John Rhodes Community Center in a high-scoring affair, scoring 5 goals in the 2nd period, winning by the score of 8-5. Cameron Baber had the hat trick for the Thunderbirds, while Mark Tassone had a pair of goals and 2 assists on the night. So the Eagles could have closed within 1 point of Blind River on Saturday. Well, the Thunderbirds did their part in Blind River as they defeated the Beavers by the score of 3-1, sweeping the weekend series. Tanner Main, Braden King, and Nick Smith scored for the T-Birds, while Brandon Gordon made 30 saves in the win. However, the Eagles could not live up to their end of the bargain as they lost to Espanola on Saturday night by a score of 5-3. Nick Teckel and Gianni Vitali scored the goals for the Eagles along with Christian Barterson as Espanola won for just the second time this season. And you got to give them a lot of credit. I was broadcasting the Friday night game for Hockey TV. You can also find the audio podcast of that game with yours truly and Larry Pozobon at thegamesportshow.podbean.com. And you got to give Espanola a lot of credit. Nothing to play for, short bench. They only had 12 skaters, but they played hard and they earned that victory on Saturday night. But all was not lost for the Sioux Eagles as last night they get a huge win on the road. Jake Palmerio scored his 25th goal of the season less than a minute into overtime to secure a 3-2 road overtime win over Blind River. Carter McPhail made 54 saves for the Eagles. So right now, the standings in the West Division couldn't be any closer. You have the Thunderbirds and Rayside Balfour 1-2. The T-Birds have 73 points. The Rayside Balfour Canadians have 71. They'll play each other twice this weekend, so pretty much decide first and second place. Now, the Eagles currently right now have 65 points. They are 2 points behind Blind River, who have 67 points. The Eagles do have one game in hand, and that game in hand will be played a week from Wednesday. So looking at the schedule, the Eagles will take on Blind River at Puller Stadium Friday night. Virtually a must-win for the Eagles if they're going to finish in third place, and they want to win in regulation because even though they defeated Blind River last night in overtime, the Beavers got a key point. Then after that, Blind River takes on Espanola. Now, you would assume Blind River would win that game, but we thought that this past weekend. We saw what Espanola did, and the Eagles will take on Elliott Lake Saturday night at Puller Stadium. So if the Eagles can win both those games, the worst they can be is tied with Blind River going into that final game at the Sioux Thunderbirds a week from Wednesday night, and Thunderbirds may have something to play for as well. So you want to avoid that fourth place spot because Elliott Lake has moved all the way up to the 500 mark, 54 points. They're the hottest team right now in the league, winners of 6 straight. So you want to avoid that one. So we're all going to figure out by this time next Wednesday who will play who, or whom, I guess is the way you want to say it, in the world of the NLJHL's playoffs. So it's going to be a lot of fun, and we'll keep you up to date here on Eagle 95.1. Well, it wasn't a lot of fun for the Lake Superior State University Hockey Lakers this weekend as they faced a must-win situation at Ferris State. We knew going in that they had to at least win one game this weekend. Well, Friday night they did not as they fell to the Bulldogs by the score of 4-1. And the other results that happened, Alabama Huntsville defeated Bowling Green, so they clinched a playoff spot along with Ferris. However, Alaska, the Nanooks, lost to lowly Alaska Anchorage. And so the Lakers were 3 points behind Alaska going into Saturday night's matchup. So what they needed was to win and to have Alaska lose in regulation. Well, we found out later on that Alaska would lose to Alaska Anchorage, but it didn't matter because the Lakers' season came to an end on Saturday night as they defeated the Ferris State Bulldogs, or they fell rather to the Bulldogs by the score of 4-2. So the Lakers, one of 2 teams in the entire country not playing postseason hockey, finished the year with a record of 10-22-4 and a league mark of 8-17-3. Good for 9th place in the WCHA. Not exactly what Laker fans wanted, and, well, just not a good season. You can spin it each way. You can make excuses. It was not a good season for the Lakers. They're going to hope to turn it around going into next season. So the quarterfinals are set in the WCHA. Number 1, Minnesota State will host Alaska. Number 2, Northern Michigan. Nice turnaround for the Wildcats. Will host Alabama Huntsville. Number 3, Bowling Green will host Ferris. And number 4, Bemidji State will host Michigan Tech. Much more success for the Lakers as far as basketball last weekend. Going back to last Thursday, the women lost to Grand Valley by the score of 82-43, and the men defeated the Lakers of Grand Valley by the score of 85-73. Kemji Williams had 22 points for the Lakers, and Michael Nicholson hit a milestone, eclipsing the 1,000-point mark in his career to become the 42nd member of the LSSU 1,000-point club. So it was senior night, or afternoon, I should say, at the Bud Cooper Gymnasium this weekend, and both the men and women got a pair of wins. Really nice to see the women get their third win of the year as they defeated Purdue Northwest by the score of 50-47 as the Lakers end their season at 3-22, but they did have a little momentum there towards the end of the season as Lakers forwards Tamara Novick, Natalie Peterson, and Lindsay Paget were honored post-game for their contributions to the program. Well, the Laker men will be playing in the postseason Wednesday night here at the Bud Cooper Gymnasium, 7 p.m. against Grand Valley. They ended their year 22-6 with a 92-84 victory over Purdue Northwest. And so the Lakers, the number 2 seed in the GLIAC, they will host number 7 Grand Valley. Again, that game Wednesday night, 7 p.m. Now, if the Lakers win and Ferris, who's the number 1 seed, if they lose their matchup to Saginaw Valley, then the Lakers will host the GLIAC finals this weekend. Probably not likely because Ferris is a pretty heavy favorite in that one. Other quarterfinal matchups, number 3 Wayne State will host number 6 Michigan Tech, and number 4 Ashland will host number 5 Northern Michigan. So you are all up to date on the local sports scene. And again, if you want to hear more about what's going on in Sault, Ontario, listen to Dave McKeag and his show from Boston Pizza, which we had last night. And you can find it at thegamesportshow.podbean.com. We're going to take a break here on the game. When we come back, we will hook up with Butch Davis from the Telegram News and Butch on Sports, who will get us up to date on what's going on in the Metro Detroit sports scene. Lots going on. We'll talk about it next with Butch here on Eagle 95.1.
The Wicked Sister, Sault, Michigan. Check TripAdvisor, ranked right towards the top. Awarded the Certificate of Excellence, as well as voted number 1 pub in the UP. The Wicked Sister has managed to create a casual menu that offers unique, creative, and sometimes healthy offerings that rivals menu selections of any big city. Burgers and starters, snacks and shareables, soups and salads, sandwiches and tapas. On Ashman Street, Sault, Michigan. Welcome to the Wicked Sister, where you'll be treated like family, whether you like it or not.
Thank you for tuning in to the game. Heard Monday nights from the Wicked Sister on Ashman Street on Eagle 95.1. Also online at radioeaglesioux.com and the podcast page, thegamesportshow.podbean.com. I hope you're enjoying the broadcast. Now, if you want to hear more of the Twin Sault's only local, regional, and national talk show, I encourage you to visit our website at thegamesportshow.com, and you can tune into a pair of broadcasts of the Game Sports Show from Sault, Ontario. Our co-host here on the game, Mr. Electric Avenue Dave McKeag, broadcasts the show on Wednesday night from Sports Center Bar and Grill in Sault, Ontario, along with his regular contributors, Jamie Antonello, Justin Heichel, and Dane Hantro. They focus on football with their In the Pocket segment, talking about the NFL, along with basketball and the NBA, and other sports, including tennis, golf, soccer, and the WWE. If you like hockey, Thursday nights are for you, as the Game Sports Show is broadcasting from Boston Pizza in Sault, Ontario, with Dave McKeag, along with his regular contributors, Justin Heichel and Dane Hantro. Now, this show focuses on hockey in the wintertime and baseball in the summer, and will include guests and interviews from local and national figures. Once again, you can hear 3 versions of the game at our website, thegamesportshow.com, or at the podcast page, thegamesportshow.podbean.com. Also on the podcast page, you will find selected audio broadcasts of Sioux Eagles home games, Brimley Bays basketball, and Sioux High Blue Devil hockey, along with game contributor Butch Davis and his broadcasts of Butch on Sports. You can also find us on YouTube. Look for the Scott Nason channel. Thank you for listening, and keep it locked here to the game for all your local, regional, and national sports talk that you just can't get enough of.
Not notorious. Notorious. I can't read about it. Burns the skin from your eyes.
Welcome back to the game on Eagle 95.1. Scott Nason broadcasting from the studios on Ashman Street on this special edition Tuesday night. Now, coming up after tonight's show, we'll have Sioux High Blue Devil hockey as the Blue Devils set to take on Sheboygan in their pre-regional semifinal Tim and Clayton Ellis will have the call of that one around 7:15. We are joined now by Butch Davis from the Telegram News and the radio broadcast Butch on Sports, who joins us each week to examine the Metro Detroit sports scene. Butch, how you doing on this Tuesday night, my friend?
I'm hanging on in there, Scott. I'm hanging on in there. A lot of action going on here with the girls' basketball and a lot of goofy things going on in professional sports and also in collegiate sport. But we're going to kind of work on that there. You know what I'm saying?
I do know, Butch, and let's dive right in. Let's start with the Detroit Pistons. They're the latest Detroit team to play last night. Well, it wasn't a very good night for the Pistons. Hasn't been a very good post-All-Star break for the Pistons as they fall to the Toronto Raptors by the score of 123-94. As they have now lost 3 straight since the All-Star break. Right now, the Pistons, Butch, 3 games out of a playoff spot in 9th place. They will host Milwaukee on Wednesday. Butch, what in the world's going on with the Pistons right now?
They host Milwaukee on Wednesday. My God, yours truly won't be there. I tell you, 3 in a row, 6 out of 7 losses here. After you go through a little winning streak and getting everybody all excited to come down there. Boston, they came into town after the All-Star break, the first sellout of the year, and you put a bone in the doggone place here. And the Pistons let's God bless Stan Van Gundy and his talk. Every single time he gets on the mic, he's a very honest and clear guy when it comes down to what his team is not doing or what his team is doing right. However, the influence he has, I kind of wonder, do this man have any influence at all on his team to do things the right way, especially when it comes down to playing defense? I think his team has a deaf ear on what they're hearing from Stan Van Gundy, and that's going to be that $5 million question at the end of the services of the Pistons this particular season. If they don't make the playoffs.
That was going to be my next question, Butch. And, if the Pistons don't make the playoffs, and right now they're out, and they look like they won't, there's still lots of season left. You're looking at Van Gundy being the general manager and coach, and a lot of this points to him, is like you said, players just not responding to him. Pistons don't win the playoff, don't make the playoffs. Butch, is Van Gundy gone? I know we don't like to speculate, but right now, is the writing not on the wall?
Well, here's the deal here, and this is, I think, a simple equation that, I think your children will probably figure out if they was giving it to them there, is that the Pistons owner is in Southern California.
Right.
In the majority of the time. Where is he going to get his influence from? He's going to get his influence from the Lakers, the Clippers, okay? And in the case of Stan Van Gundy, he got that particular information from the Clippers, and giving Stan Van Gundy the reins of owner and also being the coach. And that particular situation was the worst thing he ever did. I think Stan Van Gundy's a very good operator when it comes down to getting talent. I just don't think he's a good man when it comes down to being a coach.
Agree.
Because he doesn't have the influence of those players to get them down there and working. And their problem is very basic, okay? They're basic, and I said it last Friday on my podcast. They need to play more man-to-man. They need to play rock-em, sock-em, doggone defense with a man-to-man defense. A zone is an element of surprise. That's when you get into a zone. Most teams that use that zone correctly, it is an element of surprise for the other team, and they get a lot of good stuff that comes out of it, offensively as well as defensively. And right now, the Pistons are not doing nothing. When you have a guy like Reggie Bullock just looking, and you ever watch his motions on the floor after a basket is made and he's on defense, he's lollygagging down the other end of the floor, like I say, with those braids that just don't make any sense, and look at people and say, "Hey, I got a free turn because Stan Van Gundy gave me my rest of my year. Well, I'm paying me money, so I don't care anymore." And that is the norm of the Detroit Pistons and how they do things and how they're walking up and down the floor. It's just no energy in the team at all. I go from the top to the bottom. The same garbage comes out of their mouth. well, we just got to keep playing. We just got to do this. Who is guiding you? You got to have a coming J meeting in order to get some things done, or get somebody in there who's willing to talk to these players in a language that they will understand to get them moving. And until they do that, the Pistons are in trouble.
Let's move on, Butch, to the Detroit Red Wings, a team that has been playing very well as of the last couple games. They won their last contest at Madison Square Garden on Sunday night by the score of 3-2 as Jimmy Howard made 36 saves for the victory. Trevor Daley scored the winning goal in overtime. The Wings will be at St. Louis on Wednesday, Butch. 5 points out of a playoff spot right now, and they did make some sells, I guess you could say, yesterday at the free agent deadline day as Thomas Tatar goes to the Vegas Golden Knights for some draft picks. Give us an update on the Wings. They're not done just yet, are they?
Well, opposite the Detroit Pistons, the Red Wings had a plight that they had to make. Their plight was to get better. If they didn't make the playoffs this year, people knew up front what to expect from them.
Right.
They knew what to expect is that they're going to try a lot of young kids and a lot of older players are going to be shoving off to Buffalo. I believe that Zetterberg would have been gone a long time ago, but again, he's so well liked here in this particular community, in the services him and his wife does. It would be a doggone shame just to throw him out in the street. And I don't think the Red Wings would do that in order to mess up their morale with the older players on there. Green, we thought would go, but I thought that, again, would be a bad move. Why? Because this guy is an unrestricted free agent at the end of the year. You play the guy until you get no more out of him. If he decides he wants to be here because he wants to stay in the city of Detroit, then at least we get an honest answer from him, not from a trade that basically forces him to do what he don't want to do. You're not guaranteed to get anything, and then with unrestricted free agency there, you have to get this man's permission to move, okay? And if you don't like what the doggone scenario is, he's not going to go anywhere. So I knew that was not going to happen. Tatar is a good move. Tatar is a good move because you're getting something back for him. First round draft pick, second round draft pick in the next year, third round draft pick the next year after that. So you're stocking yourself up with draft picks, something you didn't have for a humongous amount of years. That's why you're behind today. Mrazek, and that was a good move. Why? Because number one, the Flyers are winning. Okay, 3 in a row with this guy here.
Right.
At 3-0. They're also, every time this guy gets better, or the Flyers get better, which, by the way, since the Super Bowl, the Flyers have not lost a game.
Unreal.
Since the Super Bowl, the Sixers have not lost a game.
See, I didn't know that one, Butch. Wow.
Yeah, have not lost a game since those two. So think about it when you have nothing else to do but winning brings to a city. If you're honestly seeking a winning team. And that's why I question sometimes the method of some of the Detroit teams, especially the Lions, and how they do things. They seem to be on the right track, but again, getting back to the Red Wings in general, excuse me, getting back to the Red Wings in general there, well, they made some good moves. They made some good moves because what's going to bring them down is it's going to force their hand to move some people from the OHL to Grand Rapids, from Grand Rapids, maybe from Toledo, the Walleyes there, to Grand Rapids. And you're going to force some more kids in the lineup there.
I agree with you, Butch, on pretty much everything there. I mean, the Wings are setting themselves up. Maybe they'll make the playoffs this year, but they're setting themselves up for the future. Lots of draft picks that are going to be stocked up. Lots of guys coming up the system. So I like the direction they are going. Well, you alluded to the Lions, Butch. Let's move on quickly to the Lions. They did make some news today as Ziggy Nash was labeled the franchise tag or player, as the Lions had the possibility of losing one of their best pass rushers in free agency, so the Lions decided to use the franchise tag on Mr. Anah off the open market. Your thoughts on that and the Lions?
Well, for a new coach that's coming into the pocket here, I know Dave liked that when they're in the pocket.
I like it. Very good. Nicely done.
Yeah, in the pocket. And that fits Ziggy Ansah in this particular situation because he's As we know, he stayed injured a whole heck of a lot of times, but when he's able to play, which was a short span indeed for the Lions in 2017, 12 sacks, 44 total tackles, 39 of them solo, one forced fumble recovery. I mean, the guy is absolutely great. And do you want to just put a guy out there to let him go about his own merry way, although he would be restricted? Okay, and that means the Lions had a chance to match his offer. You prevent someone giving him something that he doesn't deserve, and then you have to match it because you really want to keep the guy or get something in return for him that maybe doesn't do you any good here. So that's a good thing. The bad thing is, and this is for Ziggy, you don't get that money if you're injured or you don't take care of yourself during the off season.
You're right.
This comp is a beautiful thing for you. You'll get your 85%, but you won't see nowhere, shape, form, or fashion any of that $17 million, which, by the way, about 10 to 15% of that money is going to your agent. So have a happy life, Ziggy Ansah, this year. And that's why so many players don't like to be stuck with that franchise tag. Because although the money may be a heck of a lot high, it doesn't give them guarantees on how they can pull. They'd rather get that super long extension where they're going to be with someone 3 or 4 years worth of misery instead of giving that 1 year worth of misery.
Let's move on to the Detroit Tigers. It is February, but they are playing baseball down in Florida. They did have a game today. They beat the Philadelphia Phillies by the score of 11-6 as Tigers pitcher Mike Fears started. Pretty good first look at him. What's your thoughts on the Tigers? Still a little ways to go before the regular season, Butch. Pretty low expectations. What's your thoughts so far?
First of all, I thought the Tigers last year should have used Fears.
Yeah.
Especially when he came out of college, especially when his team got those accolades of the World Series. I think that was the most dodo head move in town that I've seen done in a very, very long time. However, if we gave him the rest and relaxation and allow him to take care of some things in his shelf to get them moved out of the way and not make them a catastrophe in his life here, that's so be it. Fears is going to be a good doggone pitcher for the Tigers. I don't think a lot of people have heard about him. I think a lot of people don't care about him because they don't really keep up with the draft and the draft system of the Detroit Tigers. I do. You do. Okay? And I know they got them a find there. They got a keeper for some years to come if they treat him right and Mr. Fears treat himself right as far as pitching. He can relieve, but his main tack is starting, and he gives you some good, consistent 7, maybe 8 innings every time he walks out on the floor. So you expect in Major League Baseball here, you're going to get a good 6 or 7 innings from this guy here. And if you got someone to replace him in the bullpen, he's going to be a find for your team. His earned run average is going to be probably pretty doggone low. However, and here's the find for Detroit Tigers, they haven't had a very good rapport in taking care of their pitchers in the last several years. We're talking about 3 or 4 years here. So that's going to be something we watch as well.
Scott Nason, Butch Davis on this special edition of the game on a Tuesday night from Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan, and from the Metro Detroit area. Coming up in about 20-25 minutes, we'll have Sioux High Blue Devil hockey as the Blue Devils will take on Sheboygan. But Butch and I are talking sports here. And, well, Butch, it's a abbreviated and a smaller round table than we're used to. But, hey, you and I, we're big boys. We can handle it. So, Butch, I'm going to give you the floor first on what you want to talk about. So what do you want to bring up to the round table tonight, my friend?
Oh, boy, we can bring up several doggone things in the little time that we have here. But let's get down to the real nitty-gritty here. Hey, is the NCAA corrupt?
Oh, boy.
That was a great storyline today, and who not to get that thing all instigated is the one and only LeBron James.
Yes.
And who did not hit the NBA coffers itself. Matter of fact, he is the reason why the one and done rule is so popular.
That's right.
In the particular, it's a big reason why it's corrupt because he made it corrupt here. And let's not leave that dog on Ben either here. But what do you think?
Well, Butch, a couple different thoughts on this. I did see LeBron. I also saw Jalen Rose. He had some very sharpened comments for the NCAA. Obviously, he has a bone to pick with the NCAA due to his history, the Fab Five and such. And, a couple things on the NCAA. First of all, the Miles Bridges thing that hit on Friday. Boy, it seemed like a lot when it first came out. And, after everything was said and done, he was reinstated by the NCAA a day after these allegations came out on, I believe, Yahoo, involving the FBI and an investigation on his mom and if she took illegal donations. Well, it came out, I believe today, Butch, that Bridges has to pay back $40 apparently to a charity of his choice due to his mother either accepting a dinner or what have you from an agent. I mean, do we have bigger things to worry about in life than a $40 bill for a mother of a star player? I just think it was a lot of hype about nothing. Michigan State has enough problems to deal with on their own. Trust me, they're going to be in for potentially a world of hurt coming up after the Nassar situation and the investigations on some of the alleged sexual assaults, which should be investigated, and they should use every resource. But getting a little more back to your question, Butch, is the NCAA corrupt? I think any organization that has so much money changing hands has a bit of corruption. You see that almost with anything as far as, people get money, they get rich, and, many people will say they're getting rich off the athletes. I don't think it's hard to argue that. I think they are. And, the limitations that they put these athletes under as far as what they can do, what they can't do, I mean, to me, it's a little much. I'm a believer that maybe you should give these athletes some sort of stipend. I don't know. I mean, they're selling merchandise off these individuals. They're making a lot of money that these folks aren't seeing, and many of them will see it once they advance to the pros, but a lot of them won't because a lot of them won't advance to the pros. So to answer your question, Butch, in a nutshell, is the NCAA corrupt? I think so. Your thoughts?
My thoughts. Well, we don't have an hour to deal with this show here, boys and girls here, but we're going to kind of lower it down to a boom as much as we possibly can. The Louisville situation, corrupt.
Yes.
Grown human beings to harness kids that way, regardless of what they want, and they stomp their feet, and then you go give it to them. There's no reason to corrupt them or to make them unwhole, because on the final analysis, and I put it this way, this makes things a lot more worse because a team called the University of Michigan did get a sack out of that bad boy.
Right.
I can understand if you suspended those players before the NCAA or that particular contest occurred, but they didn't go anywhere. They stayed and played and had fun and won the game. And to their credit, and they lost one number two due to that severe broken leg concern there. Still lost to Michigan I'm talking about here.
Yeah.
That was the situation that we looked at. The Miles Bridges situation, he paid $40. 10% of the $400 his mama got. Okay? So that's the penalty for that. Number one, you're going to talk to my child, and I'm going to give you my consent, or whatever it may be. It's a blessing to come in my home.
Exactly.
It's more of a business tension to see you on neutral ground. Because I can say whatever I want to say in neutral ground, and people are surrounding me in that particular neutral area just to hear it. So it's no mistake on somebody saying something or not saying something that was not being said. And, yes, maybe you will have to buy a cup of coffee. I'm quite sure you and I have done many rounds of business deals or whatever it may be when you end up spooning a cup of coffee, a donut to go with it, maybe a meal.
Sure.
And to make that particular deal or to be able to put that particular customer or client in a favorable frame of mind. So, for what the NCAA is talking about, that is garbage compared to some of the things that they're allowing to go on. I think the one and done rule needs to be dealt with because it's ruined a whole hell of a lot of kids. When their own coach can provide a kid to go out to the draft, we no longer need you no more. We knew you were a troublemaker when we first got you. it's been a nice year, but I don't want to deal with you no more. So get out of here, go on the draft, or I'm going to suspend you for the rest of your life. That's no way to deal with a child who basically puts his doggone harness on going to college. Now, for the many other people or kids that are going to college who don't get an opportunity because how they're sponging the money on kids who don't want to be there, they're going to have to come up with some rules here. And yes, maybe the G League has to be somewhat put in play where you can draft a kid out of high school and have a place for that particular child or athlete to go, to get himself prepared or herself prepared and ready to come into the big leagues. Plain and simple. That would be a good taste. Do it similarly to Major League Baseball, where if you stay with a particular unit at a particular time, maybe 3 years, and you can go back on the shelf as a draft choice, fresh, where you don't have to stay with that particular team. Maybe something has to be done about it. But again, the corruptness of the NCAA taking people's money, selling the merchandise and goods. By the way, the miles money on the merchandise has been sold there, and the tidbits that the Chimney got, commission wise, outseeds that little $400 or else that $40 that he's paying. So what are you doing? What are you saying here? These people don't do nothing. They sit in the office room. They have their coffee. They do whatever they're doing. And they come out at the last moment. Now the queen of education in the United States is coming into play.
Yeah.
Some of these things that are going on now in some of these colleges. And she don't like it, and she is pissed. Okay? And she don't like it. You know why? Because this lady is an advocate of privatizing at its utmost and making sure there's a fair, even ground for education, so be it. And you're messing up her game.
That's Betsy DeVos, correct, Butch?
Right, but yes, that's the Betty DeVos. You're messing up her game. And Michigan State is going to be an example on how you do not screw over this lady, who, by the way, is sitting in the White House right now, that basically right now is going to be for her, not against her. And they want to use you as a do-rag for the other schools to take heed. This lady has an open bar to take care of Michigan State. And I think you're right, Scott. Michigan State got a whole heck of a lot to worry about in the near future.
Yeah, I would agree with you there, Butch, as well. Let's continue our roundtable. Butch, we got about 15 more minutes before we have to go. I'll pose the next subject, postscript, as far as the Winter Olympics in Pyeongchang, easy for me to say, ended this past weekend. The U.S. maybe didn't do as well as they might have hoped, finishing fourth in the medals. Norway was the big winner as far as the medal count, but the U.S. did have some very nice stories. The two, obviously, that lead the way, besides the individual athletes, is the women's hockey team and the men's curling team. I expected the first one, not quite expecting the second. So, Butch, I'm just going to open the floor to you. The Winter Olympics, what were some of the things that you really enjoyed and just your overall take on the Winter Games?
Well, the games were pretty doggone cool. Kyle Mack was another one who astounded me. He's basically from nearby here, okay, just a stone's throw away from where I live at here.
Right.
Making the Olympics and getting justice, getting a medal here. And no one expected this guy to do a doggone thing here. But just so happened you mentioned those two sports. I was up all night, and because our early conversation, I was feeling under the weather. So
right.
The better thing to do when you feel under the weather is maybe drink some tea or something and watch some television. And it astounded me how you can catch up with curling. If you didn't know the rules, you caught on really, really quick here. And, that one round where they got 5.
Oh.
It blew me away. Blew me, because I've never seen it done.
No, I haven't either.
And did you expect the United States to get in that position to do that? No! These guys were cool as a cucumber. I have heard, and I know you heard it throughout the match, Well, I can live with that one. Hey, go ahead, man. You knock it out of it. We miss it. So what? These guys, they knew they was out there to have fun. You know why? Because no one expected them to do absolutely nothing, and they're there in the limelight. And it was beautiful to see for some kid, when you preach to a kid to go out and have fun. That is the perfect example of what sports is all about, having fun. And I don't need to elaborate on that one anymore. The girls' hockey team, my girl, Miss Duggan, Miss Megan Duggan, my friend, who I keep close contact with on numerous occasions ever since we met each other in Ann Arbor 4 years back. Okay, and I've kept, she's been very gracious when I needed some information for the podcast and whatnot, which she's done a couple with me here. And I will see if I can get a hold to this lady who is now probably whining and dining all through the United States here.
Yes, indeed.
And I got pictures of her and this and that. She's going to have to get a rear end here to Michigan so I can take another picture with her and whatnot. This will compare all the pictures and stuff there. But I was so proud of that young lady. This is a humble young lady who was not a captain 4 years ago, but was glad to be there. And, for someone who'd be so original, when that was a day for all of us that, and I'm talking 4 years ago, that, you know what, we didn't want to be there because the weather was just so ungodly bad. But we made the best of it, and the best of meeting each other was just meeting people that we didn't know, and that was the day that I got to know her. And I wasn't going there to see her or to whatever it may be, but we end up just being friends, exchanging information, and I just can't be so proud of that young lady. Period. God bless the United States and the women's hockey team, because the men's hockey team just flew the coop. But it was a lot of positives out of that whole particular situation. A lot of positives in dealing with the whole Olympics in general. And I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it tremendously here.
Yeah, I did as well, Butch. You touched on a couple of things I wanted to. I mean, that U.S.-Canada gold medal game was as good as any game, any sport I've seen in quite a while. Both teams just playing their hearts out. It was really nice to see the U.S. get the victory. Again, the shootout to the side, I do not like that. I really wish they changed that, but it ended up working out for the women's hockey. It didn't quite work out so well for the men's hockey team. Boy, Canada had a tough team sport Olympics as far as both their curling teams didn't medal, which I don't think many people expected, and their hockey team ends up getting beat by Germany, Germany almost, they were a minute away from winning the gold medal before the Olympic athletes of Russia, I still call them Russia, got the gold medal. But, I mean, overall, I thought it was a good Olympics. I know quite a few people have complained about the coverage. I got to say, I do have one complaint here locally. Our cable system cut the CBC feed halfway through the Olympics, so we couldn't watch it on the CBC. But I got to say, NBC did a fine job. I mean, I watched all the sports I wanted to watch, many of them live, with all their networks. I mean, they had so many curling matches. I mean, I thought they did a good job. I don't care about the commentators. I'm not too worried about the other stuff that some people complain about. I thought one of the best moments there, Butch, I don't know if you remember this, but cross-country skiing, which is near and dear to me as somebody that's participated in that in the past and still tries to from time to time. The U.S. won their first ever medal. They won a gold medal, I think, when the women's relay. And if you heard the announcer broadcasting that, the guy goes absolutely nuts. It was a great event. Did you happen to see that one, Butch?
I saw that too, boy. And you talk about the calls or whatever it may be. It was some fantastic calling in there. I think in your case with the CBC and also NBC, they got to work on some harmony there, because there's no reason that you should never been able to get the CBC feeds of SNN and TNN and all these other goodies that gave the extras. And I kind of used the NBC USA and whatnot there to harvest the live portion of the show, because you wasn't going to see it on NBC, period, okay?
Right.
And between those two and the CBC in Canada here on Channel 9, CKLW, of course, to to many who will always be that'll be the station calling numbers on that one there. It was fantastic there. So I didn't miss a beat of what went on there. Okay, in generous of knowing that this particular situation started at 7 o'clock in the morning, but I was able to see the closing events at 5 o'clock in the morning. Okay,
Right.
that's the actual time it started, and don't have to worry about NBC at all. Have a good night or not a good night or whatever it may be, but I didn't have to wait around for NBC's kick on the in particular. Wow, they should harvest the primetime show and whatever it may be. I think they did an absolutely terrible job on that. And excuse me, Mike Tirico is a local guy. I'll see him between the lines before now and maybe September or something like that. I'm quite sure we'll have a chat on that there, and I'll get the truth, and maybe I can share some of that conversation with you there. But again, NBC has to improve that there. I think they did an excellent job of using their sister station as a means to watch the games live and in person. If you had those means by having cable, you did all right. If you did not, then you were crap out of luck here, boys and girls.
Scott Nason and Butch Davis here on The Game, a special Tuesday night edition. Butch and I will be doing another show probably on Tuesday night next week because we have boys district basketball next Monday. And we usually have our show from the Wicked Sister as Brimley will take on Rudyard. I'll have to call that one around 5:30 on Monday. Don't forget Dave McKeag has his show, The Game from Boston Pizza. Brand new edition last night. You can find it at the podcast page of The Game, thegamesportshow.podbean.com. Butch, we got a little more time. How about we talk about wrestling? What do you say, my friend?
Why not here? We can't leave that unscathed here. We have left it unscathed for about a month and a half, and purposely there because nothing absolutely good about that particular genre has been going on. But now they're getting ready for WrestleMania, and by golly, the lead is the Ronda Rousey situation, which we both already know. And most of you, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls out there, know there's going to be Ronda Rousey and Kurt Angle against The Game and his wife.
Yes.
What do you think?
Well, Ronda Rousey, I mean, she's a big name. She's a big addition to the WWE. I think they need a little shot of a big name right now, especially heading into WrestleMania because, the WWE has lost many people's interest. Now, I still, of course, watch, and I know you do, Butch. I know a lot of our listeners do. But, some people say it's gone a little stale in certain categories. I think the women's portion of the WWE outside of Rousey, but I'm talking Alexa Bliss. And I'll tell you what, this girl, Alexa Bliss, she is my new favorite wrestler because she was only in NXT a couple years ago. She never won a title. Even when she came up, I believe just last year, she was one that didn't have a whole lot of hype, didn't have a whole lot of maybe a fanfare coming in, and she has made a name of herself by, one, being a good wrestler, and two, being absolutely, I think, the best on the mic. So I'm really excited about the women's division. Nia Jax, you have Asuka in there. It looks like those two potentially, well, they have a match on Raw coming up next week. They had a match at Elimination Chamber, but I'm excited about Rousey and the tag team match there at WrestleMania, but I'm really excited on where this women's division is going because I think that's really, you're seeing them more in the main event than sometimes the men, Butch. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, well, you should, because right now what's catching the interest to a lot of stale matches that the men are doing here because they don't have that particular raise of new talent coming in there from the NXT farm system that they have down in Florida. Excuse me. The Ronda Rousey situation, I think you spoke very well on that there. That's a wait and see, go get it kind of proposition. Asuka, okay? And her foe, that's going to be on Raw next week. That is a main event anywhere. I think that's going to be a main event. It's going to push itself to the limit to the point where, if you don't know, Alexa Bliss and the young lady that Asuka is going against are truly good friends. To add on the Alexa Bliss thing, many people are finding out that this is a young lady that for years and years and years has suffered from an eating disorder here.
Right.
She was very pudgy and whatnot there. To see her some of the pictures in Columbus, Ohio, when she was coming up. She was a very pudgy lady and whatever it may be to get herself. And if you got to see her in person, which I have twice, okay?
Jealous.
Okay, yeah, right, me too. And the girl ain't no more than 5 foot nothing. She is a 5 foot nothing, built like a brick house. You know what? I'm going to keep my mouth closed.
I know
But
where you're going, Butch, and I fully concur.
yeah, really. But the lady, and she's very humble because she knows where she's come from. She knows where she's at. She doesn't really play on that I'm going to be this down the road a piece. She enjoys the moment the way it is and how it is for what it is right now. And she surrounds herself with some pretty good people. And Nia Jax is one of the more beautiful people to be around. This is from a 5 foot person to a 5'10" person who reaches me in my height there, but again, has that most beautiful eyes. And we complimented each other on eyes and whatnot there. I was blown away, and my camera did not work where I could get a doggone picture. That is a sin on me. If I get to go down to wrestling one more time and I can go with the connections that I had before, I got to get a picture with that lady here. Two of the perfect people to even talk to when you deal with wrestling there. And I agree, the women's division is what to watch. And this is on both sides of the fences, on SmackDown as well as Raw. The women's division is putting up a show second to none. You know what? This lady says that she's going to take on Blitz. But Oscar would be a better fit to me if she took on Charlotte Flair.
Yes.
That's just my take on it. It was my take on it. And I think the better kick would be Nia Jax and Alexa Bliss. That's my turn on this whole situation here. And I don't know what you think, but there it is.
I would agree with that, Butch. Real quick, looking ahead to WrestleMania right now, we do know a couple confirmed matches. Roman Reigns against Brock Lesnar. Roman Reigns had some very choice words last night. Not sure how much of that was scripted or not, but that one is set for WrestleMania. AJ Styles against Shinsuke Nakamura. That is, to me, is going to be the show stealer right there. Potentially could be a good match, a very, very good match. You mentioned Alexa Bliss against Asuka. That one likely to happen. Ronda Rousey, Kurt Angle against Triple H and Stephanie McMahon. Now, John Cena and The Undertaker, they haven't confirmed that, but I think if you read between the tea leaves, that one almost certainly going to happen as well. Not quite sure where Braun Strowman fits into this whole thing, but just overall thoughts on a potential WrestleMania card, Butch.
Yeah, I think disagree on that. I think Braun Strowman's going to be taking on The Miz.
I hope so.
Think he's going to go for a title, and he's going to get it.
Good.
And he's well deserving to get it there. The man is destructive. He is a powerhouse, and the way the WWE treats that man is totally ridiculous. Okay, it's just terrible because he should have a championship opportunities a long time ago. He is the most devastating person they have in that arena, and yet and still they make him look like a toad. Okay, every doggone time he gets to that particular pinnacle of wrestling good people in that genre there. Shame on them. The Undertaker, if we don't know, the Undertaker had 2 hip injuries here, okay? Hip surgeries, I should say there. And that's going to determine, is he ready to make money? It's no secret, the Undertaker, with those hip injuries and the lifestyle of a wrestler, we don't know how much money he saved up. And it's quite sure this could be a great payday for The Undertaker if he would take on a John Cena or someone in regards to playing the odds and giving him the fix that he would need. And we're talking about John Cena. Okay, now he's going to go on SmackDown tonight, which is a few minutes or so before he gets to talking and running his mouth. But again, we don't know. We just don't know. I concur that it's going to be great. It's going to be pretty amusing.
Butch, let's get to our thumbs up and thumbs down for the week. I will start. We've already mentioned it in our roundtable, but thumbs up to the men's curling team on their improbable road to the gold medal. I don't think many people, if anybody, had them even getting out of the opening round, let alone winning a gold medal. And thumbs up to the U.S. women's hockey team. Great matchup against Canada and a great result. Way to go, ladies. Go, USA. And just a thumbs down on the CBC being cut locally here midway through the Olympics due to many people wanting to watch the CBC for good reason because they have great coverage. Butch said it best. I hope that they sort that out for the next Olympics. The next two are going to be in Asia, as the 2020 games, summer games, will be in Tokyo, and the 2022 games will be in Beijing. Butch Davis from the Telegram News and Butch on Sports. Your thumbs up, thumbs down for the week, sir.
Thumbs down for the NCAA. Fooey for them here. Just tarnish a whole lot of good stuff that goes on here with the NCAA. But again, hopefully the NCAA start being authoritative, stop being the little bar and cherry guys here or the coffee guys here or whatever you want to call it here. I haven't seen no women come out and speak yet here, but get out there and do their doggone job and straighten out the logjam that they have that they brought into play for this NCAA. But thumbs up. And all of you are going to like this, folks. On the 3rd of this month, on the 3rd of March, 50 years ago, you and I, and many of you out there, you're lying if you say you didn't, Mr. Rogers came on to play.
Yes, he did.
Yes.
We all played with him.
Won't you be my neighbor and all this other good stuff. Of course, many of you saw Mr. Rogers when he first came on, like I did, through what's that station again? The CBC.
That's right.
The Friendly Giant, the CBC.
Mr. Dress Up.
All right, Mr. Dress Up. And, yeah, the next arrival to Mr. Kringle, Les Claypool.
That's right.
We can go through a lot of stuff on that one, buddy, here.
We could have another show on that, Butch.
Oh, boy, I'll get you now. I kind of amuse you on that one. Here, but anyway, here, check out this show. It's going to be about 6:30 Eastern Standard Time on PBS. I'm quite sure there a whole lot of guests and all the other stuff will be on there. Hopefully they show some of the old stuff we will never do, but I'm quite sure when CBC gets a hold of that, they will show a whole heck of a lot. Roger, Razzle Dazzle and all this other stuff. We could go tell you a whole lot of things how Howard the Turtle and all these other people that you don't get to hear about anymore exist in our world here.
I was a big Mr. Green Jeans fan.
Oh, yeah. I remember the biggest bloke in town, Mr. Green Jeans. My father worked for CBS Sports. But, of course, the days when I was growing up, you had your double dip, being able, when I got older, to be taken to the Thanksgiving Day Parade and sit on the stand with Captain Kangaroo, Mr. Green Jeans.
Fantastic.
And Billy Rabbit and Mr. Moles here.
Oh, my.
That was a pickle, and I got pictures of that bad boy here in my house here. I showed my grandkids the other day. That was I didn't know, forgot I had them, but that was me, a young kid there. I got to send it to you, man.
I like it. Going down memory lane with Butch Davis, who joins us each and every week on the game. Butch, before we let you go, I want to let our listeners know that you can find Butch's show, Butch on Sports, in two places. First of all, you can go to the podcast page of Butch on Sports. It's at it's on Simply Butch 2. That's TOO.podomatic.com as well. We are putting his shows on the podcast page of this show, thegamesportshow.podbean.com. Butch, what do you got going this week, and what should our listeners look forward to?
Well, we try to make them aware of what's going on here and be kind of truthful there. Podcast is going to be all this week, at least 3 of them this week here, per se. Expect us to be very busy the next 2 weeks because the boys and the girls are going to be together with quarterfinals and regionals and districts and all stuff like that there, and 2 different places to go, to venues to go check out the finals and all the other stuff there. So please be mindful that we have not forgotten about you here. We're going to do the very best we can to get you the information that you need to have and provide, and make sure that it's fresh and credible as well there. So please be patient with us here. We'll be back in our normal spots. I don't know.
It depends how far our teams go, Butch, but we'll definitely put the information out there on the website and on the radio station. Butch Davis, thanks for joining us, and we will talk to you next week, my friend. Have a great rest of the week, and great show tonight.
Been a pleasure here, Scott. Hey, take care of yourself.
All right, that's going to do it here for the game. Once again, a reminder that we will have a special edition of the Game Sports Show Monday night from Sports Center Bar and Grill in Sioux, Ontario with Dave McKeag. You can find that on the podcast page of thegamesportshow.podbean.com. Butch and I will have a show next week. Time and day to be determined as far as the show, the game. We will have Sioux High hockey coming up in a matter of minutes here on Eagle 95.1 in Sheboygan. And next Monday, we'll have Brimley Bays District Basketball in Engadine as they will take on the Engadine Eagles at 5:30. That's going to do it here for the game. Until next time, we will talk to you very soon on Eagle 95.1.